Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, we don't want to go to war today.
That this groove must somehow form.
Hey everybody, it is episode 3 once again. Well, for more punishment, seeing as how we are forcing everybody in this conversation to stick around one right after another, because they release these all at once to up their numbers. That's why this was done.
Also, they can brag to themselves about how successful a thing is.
Were you aware?
They can lie to people that already care.
Were you aware that they released episode 1 and 2 in theaters for people to go watch?
I was only because of a podcast I listened to that I think you listen to as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the only reason I knew. I had no clue otherwise.
They did it for season 1 for the first couple episodes. And by reports, if people went and saw it in theaters for season 2, that there was a lot less interest, that the theaters were not full, people were not showing up for it. It feels like there's a lag after season 1. Yeah. Yeah. But everybody get hyped. We are on episode 3. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank God.
Hey, we're back to the sand on the speaker. Moving along, making shapes
favorite.
and such as they vibrate and cause. I don't know what this is supposed to mean. One of them makes a Balrog shape, if you were paying attention.
Oh,
Yeah, there's the Balrog shape.
yeah,
See?
I wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting the Balrog this season. Yay!
I would
Crown.
bet we end with a Balrog in this season.
Probably.
Yeah.
They teased it last season. They better. Chekhov's
Yeah.
Balrog.
Yeah. Blong, weaves of power, rings of power. Hey, everybody, we forgot about all the Numenorians. like completely forgot about them. And here's
Thank God we
Elendil.
saw so much of hobbits in the Rune. Oh, thank God.
Elendil the Tall, one of the greatest of the Numenorians, a great king, who's just some crap captain in this show.
Yep.
Elendil the Tall,
guy.
who should be 7 feet tall, but forget that.
It's a big horse. It's got to be big to carry that 7-foot tall man. Don't stop questioning it.
Well, this isn't his horse because he's trying to calm the horse down, but the horse ain't going to listen to him. It wants to go to his son, and his son is dead as far as he knows.
He loves that
They're
horse.
trying to do an Aragorn thing with Isildur. This is Aragorn and his horse. This is Isildur and his horse. You know exactly what they're trying to do. He's got a close relationship with his horse, and so does Aragorn have a close relationship with his horse.
Which is all just Alexander the Great and his horse.
Yep. Well, they let the horse go.
Which Roman emperor was it that made his horse a senator?
Was it Nero or Caligula? I forget which. Might have been both, honestly. They were both nuts. So
It's both funny.
I believe it was Caligula, but
I think it was Caligula. Nero was more pathetic than we give him credit for.
oh.
Well, the horse is out here, and
Oh no. Orkman.
yeah, the orcs are
Oh,
like,
that's
we're gonna eat you. It's been
going
pointed
into
out
Black
as
Forest
kind of
of
a funny
Germany.
line where they literally Mordor was created 5 minutes ago, and they've already got names for places that you're not supposed to go to.
that's
In
the Black
Mordor.
Forest.
Does that imply the big scary spiders were in the Southlands before? If so,
They had to have been.
why did nobody think the black goo and the cow came from being bit by a big scary spider that can eat people?
I don't know.
They just-
Literally, time and space is very, very strange in this world.
Not to spoil it, everybody. I guess I spoiled it, but here we go.
Oh yeah, the spider. So Barrick somehow is a homing bloodhound horse.
He's got
Yeah.
a good sniffer.
He knows how to find. Isildur,
He's part bloodhound.
part bloodhound horse, and Isildur is being webbed up. So we get this little scene. We get this little scene where the horse finds him, and he's like, "Oh, my horse." And then like the spiders start coming out of their eggs, and then like the orc wakes up, and so he's got to kill this orc, and the spiders are all going nuts. And it's a spooky scene, and it's well animated, and it's got it.
Yeah,
It's scary and
good.
stuff. It was fun. This fun little adventure that where he has to fight the spiders and he jumps on the horse. And this means nothing. No bearing on what happens after that. There's no reasoning for why he's here. It's like they spent a whole 5-10 minutes. Well, 5 minutes. So he could do a spider thing where you're like, oh, remember Shelob or the spiders in The Hobbit? We're going to do a spider thing, and then it's done. Like, he just leaves. I was like, what was that all about?
I realize not everything has to be explained, but last we saw he was trapped in a burning building. We're just not going to talk about that, but we have to see where Sauron gets the fucking pouch with the emblem on it. Who cares? He told us.
Now
So did the spider go all the way to the burning building to pick up this asshole and that orc?
Yes.
Why?
And then drag him, drag him to the Black Forest.
The spider saved him.
Like, my God. So we have to see where Sauron came from in the form of Charlie Vickers, the actor, like when he took that form, but we don't know. Like, the last we saw Isildur, he was trapped in a burning building.
He was dead.
Oh my God. Of all the things to not show.
I would love...
What a bunch of shit.
I would love to see like this side scene that was cut where the spiders all have tiny fireman hats and they're all coordinating to save him out of the burning building.
I want them to be adorable little French firemen with the shiny helmets. That's what I want.
And then he wakes up
would
and they're
actually-
they're like, oh, he's alive. We saved him. And he starts killing everybody and then runs away.
They weren't actually there to harm him. They just webbed him up so that he would be able to recover better.
Yeah, his
Yes.
burns will recover better without movement, you know.
Tiny little gas masks as they brave it to try and save him.
Tiny little axes to get through the burning building.
Oh my God.
But they somehow he made it here. Well, and I like the cool little adventure spot, but it's like, wouldn't you set this up where he's trying to make his way home and he has to go through this cave because he can't go around or something, or give us a reason to be here instead of like, remember spiders? Well, he's out anyway. Forget about spiders now. We're done with that.
I literally have his horse find him. Like, you can have a scene where he stumbles out of the burning building, out of the back of it after everyone had assumed him dead, and he like falls into a little ditch or something, and he's laying there, and then have him waking up to Beric like licking his face or like, you know, doing the gross horse lips on his nose or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and then
Aragorn,
have him go on a little adventure. And I guess maybe they thought of that. They went, wait, we can't do that.
It's 2 on the horse nose.
Like, it's just, but now it just leaves me going like, okay, so the spiders saved him? I don't, did he wander in here like a moron? What happened? Like,
I hope so.
What if but spiders?
oh God, I think the fireman's spiders are lore correct. That is what
Canon now.
Canon accurate in Rings of
they are
Power.
canon accurate. That is
I'm
canon
glad-
for Rings of Power.
I'm glad I brought that up and you're all on board. The fire spiders.
One of them
Big
is,
fan.
They saved his life
So what's
and they
the big
webbed him
spider
up so that he was safe. And he freaked out and killed a bunch of them after they did their civic duty, their civic spider duty.
They were even trying to save him from the orc. They popped his head.
Yeah, they did. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
orc bad. We got to stop that. And he's like, They're like, we're good spiders, though. Oh, no.
Why can't he understand Spiderlish?
So apparently, not only are the orcs misunderstood in Lord of the Rings, but the spiders were always misunderstood too. They were actually good guys.
I'm on board for misunderstood spiders. I'm on board for this.
Me too.
This whole time, Shelob was one of the spiders that saved him, and then and then Shelob watched him wake up and kill a bunch of the spiders while he's freaking out. And that's why Shelob's evil.
Well, freaking Shadow of Mordor or whatever, Shelob is a Shadow of War, I think is Shelob's a chick that can transform into a chick. It's in the video game.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, you did.
I've played that, and I don't
Do you
remember
remember
it.
when that was the worst offense to Lord of the Rings?
Oh yeah,
God, I miss those days, huh?
Well, because everybody accepted that it was lore inaccurate, and we're super fine. It's like, oh, it's lore inaccurate. This is fine. Well, we had a spider moment, and we're moving on. And here's Elendil, just really sad. He's real sad.
Real bummed out.
And the king has died, and his daughter has become like a shitlord since he's gone, and she's
apparently
she's really bitter about the queen.
This is one of those characters I mentioned before that got worse in the second season.
Well, she's not an actual character. She doesn't exist in the lore. She's a fabrication of the show.
And she's worse now than she was before. She's a piece of garbage. Before she was inoffensive and a non-entity, and now she's a piece of garbage.
Well, it's funny too because there's an interview with this actress who said that the creators felt that Elendil's family needed feminine energy.
Not this feminine energy.
Hey, you know what would have also been a good story? You can show what happens when the lack of feminine energy is in a family. Like, after his mom died.
Hypermasculinity. But you can't have hypermasculinity.
You could show how, like, you need both, the yin and the yang.
Yeah,
A strong father who maybe works a little too hard.
But the problem is the way they wrote it.
Mother's not there.
Is Isildur's like a pansy who doesn't want to go into the family boat business or whatever. They could have had him like, I want to go to war and I want to adventure and fight things. And Dad's trying to calm him down.
Yeah.
Been an interesting development for the character where he's a hothead and his dad is like, no. Restraint. Look at what you're doing.
We're writing a better show and we should stop. Anyway, she's real bitter that her brother died. She touched a rock at one point. Anyway, Elendil gives her a dirty look like, what the hell are you talking about? You trash talk about Queen? My really bad leader that I believe in?
Who I care about now because she's blind?
Yeah, anyway, she touched the rock and she's been cursed by the fact that she thinks the island's going to fall. Because she touched the Palantir, and it's been messing with her head the whole time. Well, the queen comes down all mourny and whatnot to mourn her papa.
By the way, at this point, my assumption, spoiler alert, was that she was still trying to hide her injury, if you will,
her infirmity,
and it turns out, no, she weren't. So, as we find out later,
remember when she was wearing the blindfold, plain as day, in front of everyone?
Well, I guess, and it's just like, but like, they were setting it up in the last season for her to be hiding it, like trying to be like, now how many steps up the stairs, and like that kind of, like they were trying to, at least to me, and so now they're just giving all that up. I guess. Like, what's the point of even writing to keep that? Up with. I guess. My God.
Well, this mother who lost her son is really butthurt with the queen.
And this is yet another example of how people are just disrespecting royalty.
None of this should happen in any royal world at all.
No, like she'd be a dead woman. She wouldn't even get that close.
No, they'd have thrown her off a building and sent her to the stocks.
I mean, look, we have the most liberal view of the royalty now, where they're just kind of useless things we put on the shelf to look at. Would they ever get this close?
No.
Hell no. You can't even treat the king's horses that way.
No.
Yeah. Like, I don't think so, Chief.
Just remember,
bodyguards are taking you out so quick.
Just remind everybody of the Moob armor.
And what armor it is.
The crafted Moob armor for these outfits. Anyway. Moobs are a thing. Well, here's the queen, and she's having conversations with Farazan, who... Clearly, Farazan has designs, but he's being very judicious in his conversations with her.
Yeah, which is, hey, that's, wow. The guy
It's well done with him. He's not overtly scheming. He's subtle in how he manipulates things, which is not how the Pharazôn in the book does. But this should be more of a Sauron, well written, than a Pharazôn.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's recommending clothes, and she picks white because humble.
He's making subtle hints of why maybe red looks better, because we need to, nudge.
It's funny, they bring up an eagle, and if it were there, it would be a good omen. Like they're dropping hints. And I was like, when was this a thing? I mean, I guess. Anyway, he recommends something, and she says no. Was this the point where she tries to go and search in the door? I don't think so. Anyway.
No, that comes later.
It's right after this.
So we're having a conversation, and Pharazôn and his son and Elendil's daughter is apparently scheming with the Pharazôn.
Which, why would you bring this broad? Like, I don't mean
exactly.
Like, she's not anything to that. Like, they're all nobility, and she's the daughter of a guy in the military. Like, that she don't matter.
Well, she talked to his son a few times. His son is interested. So they're almost a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Which, if they would have shown her telling the son about the Palantir, that would make way more sense. Because Pharazôn should be like, yeah, you're not bringing your girlfriend around. I don't give a like, no, get out of here. Like, this is big boy time. We're doing big boy things. But as we find out,
she does have information. Well, they trash talk the queen. And remember this guy who got the best of Galadriel in her arrogant this is how you kill an orc training moment, and he basically became a leader based upon the fact that he poked her once. Well, anyway, he overhears it, and he's like, don't trash about my queen. He's like, she lost her eyes trying to save some of our troops by going into a fire. Once again, reminding me, why on earth is the queen in the middle of a battle? Like, rulers usually didn't join the fight, let alone a queen. Like, she would have sent them. She would have, and you know what would have been more interesting? She sends them out to war. It goes poorly, and they come back, and she's been deposed because she didn't have her loyal followers there to protect her. They all went to fight for her. That would have been interesting.
That would have been better. Yeah.
But that's not what ended up
happening here.
Yeah, that's not what happened. Well, the son stands up and challenges him, and but you're like this weak, pathetic kid, and this guy will beat the crap out of you, so he backs down. And the confrontation over. But clearly there's scheming going on in Numenor, and she is siding with the Pharazôn faction, as it seems to be.
You know what I wrote in my notes at this point?
Oh, please.
Why are all the women stupid in this show? Genuinely,
I don't know.
Why are all the, like, this is supposed to be this is directed by women this season. They said they were writing these strong female characters. They're all dumb as hell. I mean, to be fair, so is Celebrimbor, but like, the women especially are done dirt nasty in this show. Like, they are showing themselves to be arrogant to the point of being stupid, to being easily misled, to like, they're not.
Well, I have a theory that in order, nobody really knows how to write women very well. They either write women as sort of too perfect with Rey in Star Wars, where she has no flaws or no interesting characteristics.
And therefore not interesting.
Or they try and write her too masculine, which makes her abrasive and unlikable, because even masculine guys that would act like Galadriel would be unlikable and awful.
Yep.
So, because they don't know how to write a subtle female character, because you can't present them as a naturally flawed and fleshed out personality. You have to present them in a hyper over over idealized aspect. So it's like if she is going to stand in a man's world in this very masculine military, we're fighting orcs and stuff, then she has to be very masculine to contend against the masculinity of the other guys. So when we write her, she has to be hyper masculine, and being hyper masculine makes her hyper shitty. Like just awful. Because in their minds, well, a guy basically walks around and trash talks people and browbeats everybody and thinks he's awesome. And it's like, that's not masculinity. That's like bad personality. That's being a dick.
That's being the worst kind of leader.
And so when they write women, when they're trying to make them strong, they don't make them strong. They make them like incompetent men, which is bad writing.
Maybe we've poisoned the well, but like, I mean, genuinely, Val, like, am I up in the night? Like, are these women, do you see yourself in any of these women? Do you see someone you would want to be like or look up to or find interesting? Like, I don't, like, I guess we've kind of poisoned the well, but I mean, are we crazy? Like, to me, these characters are so unlikable, or just at least so dumb.
I definitely don't think you're wrong about this.
Yeah.
These type of women are ones that I would avoid. Like, I don't want to talk to you. You're terrible. I feel like my middle school bully. I'm just gonna go.
Well, is there something flawed about how the women are presented? Do they seem like natural women to you as a woman?
No. Definitely not.
Well, what's flawed about them?
Because like what you were saying, they're trying to give them personalities of masculine guys, the quote-unquote toxic masculinity kind of thing. They're giving to these women, which is weird. They think like, oh, we want them to be tough.
It's toxic when a guy does it, but it's not when a girl does it.
Okay, this is toxic masculine femininity.
Toxic masculine femininity. That's an interesting phrase. You know who's a good example of a strong female character that's written well? Leia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's hyper masculine, honestly, but she doesn't come across awful.
No.
You don't hate her despite her assertiveness. You know, is also a strong female character who retains a lot of femininity. Eowyn.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
very much so.
Despite being strong, she still comes across as a woman. She doesn't walk out and scratch her nuts when she goes to fight. When she goes to fight the Witch King.
She's competent in like she's competent and not only as like, you know, she can disguise herself as a warrior and not be found out immediately, but also in like, you know, when she's helping everyone get to Helm's Deep and like trying to like shepherd the civilians and be their kind of their leader in that way. Like she's awesome at it. Like she's shown to be respected and liked. And whereas what's Galadriel shown? She's a real a-hole. Like she's brash and arrogant and flies off the handle and makes decisions and doesn't listen. I mean, she literally she never listened to anything anyone said.
Nope.
You know who's
she kind of is now.
You know who's a strong female character? Arwen. Despite being very feminine and very gentle, she is assertive in what she wants, despite the misgivings of her father or even the misgivings of Aragorn. She's like, "No, I love you. I'm going to give up my immortal life, be immortal like everybody else." That is a strong person who knows what they want and is going to get it, despite the fact retaining a very soft characterization. Very gentle.
100%.
Yeah, she doesn't have to go out and start kicking orcs in the nuts to come across as a strong individual personality. Ripley is a strong female character. And it's funny because Ripley's overused, to be fair, when it comes to Alien. Yeah. And I'm talking Alien from the first one. Ripley isn't presented as the main character in the first Alien. She's not. She's just another part of the crew. She ends up elevating to that position because everybody dies. But she comes across as competent and strong by dealing with the events that unfold. She's not the impetus for a lot of the decision making, but she ends up being the person that has to make decisions. And when we see her presented in other situations, she is assertive and strong when she fights back against things, and she has a very maternal instinct to protect the child in the second movie, when she literally has a mother-to-mother fight where she's a robot inside the robot mechanical loader in the second one, which is a strong feminine thing where she will fight tooth and nail to protect the innocent child that she has motherly instincts over, what Newt or whatever the name of the kid is. Like, you don't have to be a guy walking around screaming at people and scratching your nuts to be a strong male character, but that feels like that's how they interpret a strong masculine character, is being overly toxic, essentially, which is a bad male character, just as it's a bad female character. And we could keep going on strong, well-written, assertive female characters, and nothing in Rings of Power comes across as these characters are presented in a way that makes any sense. They're incompetent in ways they shouldn't be. They're overly, like, abrasive in ways that make them unlikable. They are elevated to positions of authority for no apparent reason, simply because they're there. Like in the first season with Bronwyn, who happens to be the pharmacist, somehow ends up leading the entire village and being center of the story moving forward. And for some reason, she's just like, well, I'm in charge and everybody listen to me. And it's like, why? You're the pharmacist. No one cares about you. Why, when we have village elders who could be man or woman, it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't we have people in charge of said village? Why are we listening to you? Well, because she stood up and said, well, listen to me. That's why. Okay, I guess. Like, they're so poorly written. It's like they don't understand women. And when they try and write women, they're afraid to give them flaws or personalities, or they're afraid to not have them be in charge or the smartest person in the room all the time. So every woman has to walk into the room and be like, I know better than everybody here. All of you are stubborn. It's like the Disa character. It's like, why is she screaming at everybody for being stupid? That's like, so basically,
somebody needs to scream at her for being stupid.
She sounds like she's the main character of the Dwarven storyline at this point. She knows better than everybody else. Listen to her. You're all being stupid men. And
you know what? I'll give her this though. At least that's like kind of a feminine trait. Like,
sure.
You know, at least that's she's not trying to be warrior woman out of nowhere.
Well, we have shots of her fighting with the hammer, Ross. So we're getting there.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say, if she just stayed as like the irritated
everything
wife,
you love will be taken from you.
And being like,
you know,
you're dead, darn it.
You know, well, see, that's the thing, Silver. That's a really good point. The nagging, irritating wife. But she presses her husband to get him to change, to see reason. She doesn't also go scream at the king at the same time. She keeps poking her husband to change his mind. That's the difference. You shouldn't be, you don't get to have both. Anyway, Queen Regent Muriel, blind as a bat, goes to sneak into the secret room where the Palantir is, and it's gone.
Or maybe it fell on the floor, and since she can't see, she wouldn't know.
She wouldn't know. You're absolutely correct. She wouldn't know if it fell.
Maybe it rolled into the corner.
How'd she sneak in there too? Shouldn't there be like a guard standing silently in some corner somewhere?
It's too secret.
At least outside that room.
It's too secret. Well,
and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna sneak by him. Can't see him, but I'll make it."
Nah. Well, he just needs to speak up. She's blind. He just be like, "Hey, lady." Well, we're back to Orc Village, and he's talking about how we shouldn't war, and Adar is like, "Listen to me. I'm your papa." And we get family values. We get family values.
Oh God!
We get a crying baby orc.
Wholesome orc family values when it comes to orcs.
Let's turn this guy and his wife into a sitcom. Seriously.
Ba-dum-bum. Just the orc
At
of us.
home with the orcs.
They're misunderstood.
Junior
They
ate-
just want a place
Junior
to
ate
raise
the
their.
next door neighbor's dog.
Well, they just want a place to have a white picket fence and to raise their horrific, horrifying, ugly children. Who have the most evilest of looks and will probably eat your babies. But they're misunderstood, you see. They love their children just like anybody else. Orcs are good people. It's Sauron who did this. He makes them terrible.
Orc children shouldn't be a thing.
Well, here's the problem.
Aren't they like
So in the
corrupted
movie-
elves or something?
Well, here's the problem. So in the lore, Tolkien has kind of changed his mind back and forth, so it's hard to say exactly what their origin is. They were either created from elves or they're creations of Morgoth. I don't know which. So it's kind of up in the air. This show seems to be leaning on they were creations from elves. Okay?
Yeah,
Secondly,
from elves.
well, they're twisted elves, the original orcs. Secondly, it's like, oh, well, are they grown in like vats or something? And it's like, the only weighing in that Tolkien ever did in one of his letters as to how orcs populate is he basically says it's not something we really know about or address, but he assumes that they are created in the natural way. Hence, procreation. So they've seemed to have extrapolated this to orcs have wholesome families as opposed to just breeding women, which one would assume orc society would be like. But they've turned it into more of a more of a misunderstood orc population, because orcs who desperately need to repopulate would likely heavily protect the women that they have if women were a part of orc society, which is why you would never see them very often. Much like you don't see the dwarves very often because they're very valuable because they need dwarf children. Yeah, it doesn't seem very orcish to care about their family units.
I like the Warhammer kind of, not necessarily that the orcs are like grown from spores or whatever, but the fact that like you have a bunch of snotlings and the ones that thrive and survive beat down on the other ones and just get bigger and bigger and bigger until they become orcs. That to me seems like what they would do is maybe sure they have some breeding females who pump out orc babies, but then they just throw them in a pit, and the ones that are the strongest survive, and they're like, okay, we'll take those ones.
Well, yeah, but Rings of Power wants the orcs to be misunderstood family men.
Yep.
Who love their
their
family. Man, that's a looker. Would you kiss that, Ross? Would you have an orc wife?
No.
I bet she wore white on her wedding day.
However,
nice smudgy white.
Ross, orc relationships are wholesome, and they just want to be left alone to raise their children.
And how dare you think otherwise?
I don't believe you.
According to the show, that's what they want. You could settle down with a good orc wife. She'll raise your chillins in the orc way.
Our freakish, disgusting children.
And she will kill your enemies and eat them.
Well, we don't want to talk about the horrific, evil nature of orcs. We want to imply that they're natural, good people who don't want to go to war and want to raise their kids.
Just look ugly.
Like this guy. Silver, would you kiss this guy? Would you have his babies?
No.
You sure?
Absolutely not.
He seems like a family man.
I think she's body shaming him.
Well, you are body shaming.
Yes. 100% I am body shaming it.
What if he got some lotion and dental work?
I'm skin shaming. I'm teeth shaming.
Wow.
Well, he could get some dental work. He could straighten those suckers out. He could
that's
whitening
crazy
strips.
orthodontics.
Some Crest whitening strips.
No amount of like acne treatment, scar treatment is gonna treat that.
You bigot.
Wow.
You.
I know.
Wow, you guys are really bigoted towards these wholesome orcs who just want families. Wholesome families.
Correct.
Sorry, salicylic acid isn't gonna do it.
Here comes the famous troll. I don't know if any of you know about this troll individual. Or why he matters.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh,
I do. And
do you
I
remember?
don't like it. He's supposed to be the Mike Whattentrout from Breaking
From
Bad.
Breaking Bad. They literally designed this troll to look like Mike from Breaking Bad.
Oh my gosh.
Hi! Hi!
I don't know what to tell you.
Because apparently, what's his name, Tolkien, decided that he wanted this to be like Breaking Bad.
What is it, Sam?
Why?
Yeah. Well, here's our boy, Damrod, or Mike from Breaking Bad. Let's see a good shot of him. He's a looker, Silver.
Hey, he's tall.
He's tall. You like tall guys.
Professional. Shows up on time.
Shows up on time.
Oh no.
He accessorizes. He's strong. He beats some people. Protect you.
Listen, I'm picky. This is a definite no.
Wow. You know, if you won't go for Mike Troll from Breaking Bad, I don't know. You might have to reconsider your choices. Anyway, it looks like Adar has brought him in because he needs Mike power. And we go to commercial. Anybody want to reflect on what we've seen so far?
Not really. I'm trying to forget the horror that I've experienced.
So I had a realization while we were talking, and interrupt me if we talked about this the last season.
Okay.
I'm sure we mentioned it, but I'm realizing now the timeline is even more screwed up.
Oh yeah.
Because Waldreg supposedly served Sauron. That doesn't mean he saw Sauron, but he was using that sword thing for Sauron. Why, we still don't know. Maybe we'll find out, I guess. But then he's like, what, 60? 65?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even on the large end, 70. Well, but then who's he been serving? Because Galadriel's been looking for 1,000 years for Sauron. Like, do you see where this is going? Am I losing my mind? My mind is collapsing in on itself when it comes to the timeline of this. None of this makes sense.
Well, there have been a lot of timeline questions when it comes to... So it's like Sauron was goo for 1,000 years, but then came out and was stuck to the tire. But then the orcs were looking for a home of their own and drew maps that left it at the castle where he made it ice as a message to other orcs. But then the map they found in Numenor references Sauron, and the map, which would have been something Sauron had had known about. But then he was gone for 1,000 years as goo. So
It's just all so stupid. Like, even with like disregarding lore and where things should be and how they should be, disregarding all of that within the own internal structure of the show, it's just garbage. It's just convenient whenever it needs to be. Like,
did anyone think about the fact that Halbrand was in Eregion, manipulated the rings, left to go to Mordor, and gave us the indicator that he's now becoming the Dark Lord of the Sith with like his black cloak, only to get himself arrested and then go back to Eregion?
For some reason, yes. Maybe he wanted to get the orcs all riled up to come break Eregion, but why would you do that?
That supposedly is what he was trying to do, but the ending of season 1 gave us an impression that's not what he was up to.
No, at all.
Right. That he was going in to take over and set himself up as the Dark Lord.
Yeah, so they gave us the impression he goes to Mordor to go back to Eregion.
It's just all so bizarre.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to derail us, but I just thought of that, and it made my mind
No.
collapse
There
into
are
itself.
serious timeline questions, especially when it comes to distance, because we are jumping large distances really quickly, which would take days, if not quite a few days, if not weeks
or months.
if not. And so as we jump around, and then some people travel this distance, and then it's like then we jump to another place where it's implied that only moments happen. So it's like, did that other place progress weeks or months in time, and then this other place we've jumped to only progress a day? Like, it's very confusing how much time and space has passed in as we jump around. It's very confusing because they have the battle that literally Numenor travels, which would take quite some time, to Mordor, which is not on the coast. They would have to travel across a distance on land to get into Mordor, then go back all the way back to Numenor, which is also another long period of time of travel. But Sauron goes from Mordor to Eregion, which is about the distance that Frodo makes from Two Towers to Return of the King. And they do that twice in one episode.
God damn.
Yep. Anyway, as we continue on, we're in Eregion, and the dwarfs show up because he sent him a letter. And he's basically like, we want to help you guys because we need rings to push back against the evil, because they're successful. They work. They're really good at working. And he's like, wait, we're going to make some rings. And it's funny. Durin's like, you want us to talk about jewelry or whatever? It's like, oh, these are powerful rings. At any rate, I'm screwed up by letting that play too long. Hopefully that copyright didn't come from my head. This might be a cut. I normally skip. We are not watching the show. We are talking about still frames of the show, by the way, everybody. Anyway, they're having conversation. Freaking Amazon is aggressive. Every time I've played sort of the trailer for Rings of Power, they've come after me.
Oh, good God.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing they put
Probably
out
because of all the negative press. So
yeah, the public
come after anybody.
The publicly distributed press material.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're suggesting these rings could help the dwarves, and the dwarves are in a desperate situation where we had this earthquake and they can't find the exit to the mountain for light or what have you. I mean, wouldn't you? It feels like guys who are good at digging know how to do that efficiently.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, to maybe start out from the outside and go in. I don't know. You figure.
Well, you're just not a miner, Rhett. They can't do it that way.
We got to have ladies screaming at the rocks. Anyway, they're talking about this, and it's like, oh, this could save us all. And it's like, well, now you have an excuse to make up with your dad. And she's like, no, you have to. And if you don't, I'm going to talk to your papa. It seems like Sauron has urgency about getting these rings done a lot more than Celebrimbor does at this point.
Well, I mean, it's kind of dumb that he's this insistent, because even if they had said, you know what, you're right, they still would have had to go back to Khazad-dûm. They still would have had to somehow extract the materials that they needed, because, you know, it's a metal that they have to pull out of the very rocks. So it's not like it would have happened right then and there. So I don't know why he was so upset about it anyway. It's like Celebrimbor had the total right attitude here. He's just like, oh, it's fine. Fine. But whatever. This is kind of...
Well, Charlie's talking about the urgency of this, and Celebrimbor is like, uh-huh.
And who are you? And by the way, like, that's the best part. Like, he's acting like a new nobleman would. Like, who the hell are you to talk to me? Like, I know who Celebrimbor is. Who the hell are you? Like, hey, some writing that's actually decent. Shocking.
Well, it's fascinating
because
Celebrimbor lies to the king in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the scene, he literally writes lies to the king in order to give them more time to make these rings without permission.
And this is a good another good example of when Sauron is actually being manipulative.
Which they said he did in the first season, but never did. Now he's actually manipulating in this season.
Yep.
Which is just frustrating because they're like, oh, he's really manipulative. He's like, he didn't manipulate anybody in the first season.
Not a single person.
Well, we're going to Isildur, and he's like, I'm going to drink this water. And it's like, oh, there's a dead guy in there. I'm not going to drink this water. Anyway,
by the way,
he takes
that
his boots.
transition to the boot is a really good transition. I like that a lot.
I actually
How on earth
the lighting
did he lose
here?
his boots?
The spiders took him to dry him off, and he couldn't find them in the cave.
Yeah, they're helping him out. They're fire spiders.
Yeah, remember?
Oh, right. Sorry. I forgot. The misunderstood French firefighter spiders.
It does beg the question, did the spiders take off his boots for him?
Yeah.
They're really
like,
weird.
To get comfy.
You're gonna want dry boots when we usher you along.
I mean, maybe we missed
laundered.
it. Maybe we missed it, and he had to kick off the boots to get out of the webbing.
Oh,
and so that's how he lost his boots.
No. In my mind, as he's running from the cave away from the spiders, there's a bunch of spiders standing there holding his boots and fresh clothes and like food. And they're like, we were going to give you this.
Like, wait, don't go. Oh.
You left without your shoes.
Oh
my God, they killed George.
Well, he's got the boots. I like the lighting of this. Like, the scenes where Isildur is doing stuff are so much more interesting right now. He's on an adventure. I want adventure.
Yeah.
They're giving us outside shots of him encountering people. Anyway, he comes out. There's been much discussion about this scene where he gets stabbed in the leg as he comes across these carts, and he finds some lady. It's like, oh, this is really bad. I've been stabbed. You're supposed to leave it in.
Mm-hmm.
Then they wrap it, and they never talk about it again. Like, he's fine.
It's just fine. The wrapping did it. He nailed it.
Yep.
First try.
Because the rest of the show, it's like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. Then it's like, oh, you're fine. The most it in this situation, it probably would have killed him from infection.
It probably would have hit his the number one, the infection. But I mean, where she stabbed him and with how big that knife was, it may have hit his artery.
Yeah.
He does eventually get stitches. Theo stitches him up when he gets to Pelargir, but
Meg Ryan?
God, that'll stop the internal bleeding.
Brown Meg Ryan?
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I like that.
Anyway, they're working together and they make it out of wherever they were, the dirty part of Mordor. And he encounters the oldest trick in the book.
Oh my God, genuinely.
Old man faking hurt, going to help him, getting attacked by everybody else.
This is classic highwayman stuff. This ain't even orc doings. Like this.
You think this is his natural teeth?
Dude, if it is, God bless him, and I hope he keeps finding work.
Oh, he got work specifically for his dank look.
Oh, they saw that mouth and they were like, dude,
we need you for Hobo Man.
We have to have you. You understand this?
I need to draw you.
That's where all the budget went.
Oh.
Or all the budget went to CGI and that gob of his.
No, my dude. The CGI budget for his mouth was nuts.
That's 200 grand right there.
Dentures, so they could just put in the teeth that they wanted.
No, they put green over the teeth they wanted to remove. Like green tape or something. They green screened his teeth.
Report to makeup. We need to put some tape on your teeth.
Well, Isildur basically gets owned really easily for someone who's supposed to be a warrior, but let's remember, they were so incompetent as warriors, Galadriel was training them.
Teaching them what, the supposedly greatest fighting force of men on on Middle Earth.
Or perhaps ever in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets overcome, and guess what? We get... It's almost like... How would I describe this? Like RKO out of nowhere. Aaron comes flipping, like overstuffed, doing gymnastics moves we've never seen.
He explodes through the cart?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in such an impressive way that it's like, this show loves Arondir. The way they're presenting him, they love this character. They think he's so freaking cool. And, you know, he wrecks house, and then he looks like a sourpuss, like, I'm real sad about stuff, I'm leaving. And it's like, okay, bye. And we get...
You know what line cracked me up? He's like, the wild men out here outnumber us many to one. Like, it's like, that should have been delivered like a Han Solo would have. Like, many to one, I don't know, like... Many to one. Really? You don't say, Arondir. Like, thank you.
What a specific number.
Yeah, like, no shit, really. The bad guys outnumber us in bad guy land. I'm shocked. Like, ugh, God.
Well, he could have said...
And then he picks up those sticks, right? And then it cuts to this, but they're all big logs.
Yeah.
Right.
She should have picked up an axe. That's all I'm saying. That would have made more sense.
Well, couldn't that lie? Because when he says many to one, like, if you say 2-1, you're implying a numerical difference.
Yes.
Wouldn't he just say that they outnumber us greatly?
Yeah,
why say many to one? Many to one is an awkward way to put it.
Like, it literally sounds like he came up with it off the top of his head, but he delivered it like he knew. And it's like, you're just, what, so you're full of it? Like, what do you mean? Like...
Well, imagine me going like, oh, the other guys outnumber us many to one. And you'd be like, what? And you'd shut up.
Just shut up, right? There's a lot of them. God.
There's a lot of them.
How many is in a mini?
Lots. There's lots in a many. So we cut to Bronwyn's funeral. So there should be much said about this situation. So Bronwyn was presented in season 1 as being extremely important and central to the story. She is presented as a leader of the village. She unites them to go to the keep that they built a set for, that they didn't fight in for some weird reason, and went back to the poorly protected village. She is presented to the queen as one of the leaders of the village, as a big deal when they encounter the Numenorians. She is super important to the story and how they're presenting the plot. And it feels that now, I know what happened to Bronwyn. The actress basically quit acting and wanted to work on her activism by, like, concerns when it comes to women's rights in Iran. Which, hey, good on her. If she cares a lot about that stuff, then and willing to give up acting, you know, good for her. Like she cares about the issue. That's great. Well, then you recast her because she's vitally important to the story. You replace her character. But it feels like the showrunners went, yeah, her character, no one gave a crap about her character, and she wasn't going anywhere. So now's our chance to just mysteriously kill her off screen and then just not talk about her again.
So weird.
Because if she was so important, they would have recast the character. But because the actress left the show, it's like they went, quick, it's our chance to just kill her now. Because it doesn't matter.
Nobody liked her, so we'll just kill her.
Yes, they scrapped any plans they have. Because there's no way a character presented as that important dies off screen. That wasn't what they were intending to do. But in this show, she dies off screen, and then it's like, oh, she was poisoned, and it's slow. And it's like, excuse me? Like, how many other Numenorians are going to drop dead real soon here? Poisoned and it was slow. Uh-huh. Interesting. But yeah, so she's dead now. Unceremoniously. Well, it's literally ceremoniously, but they gave the actress no chance to say goodbye. She's just gone.
Yeah, then couldn't even get a phone call to have her overdub something. Nothing.
No. And we're all supposed to act sad, even though none of us give a crap about Bronwyn. They give her like a Darth Vader burial. Which is, oh, here's Meg Ryan. With his bob haircut. He's too old for that haircut, but what are you going to do? Well, burns his mother. And we're back to the dwarves. Hey, everybody. You know, what was central to season 1 was all the stuff in the Southlands, and it feels like we don't care at all about any of the Southlands stuff.
They're sweeping it under the rug real hard.
Yeah. Like. We're ignoring anything that having to do with the Southlands.
Well, now that the Southlands is Mordor, it's like, it's a whole. The neighborhood went to pot. We don't care about it anymore.
But it's like everything focused on the Southland storyline. The love story they were trying to push with Bronwyn and Arendir. The relationship with the son, like all of that was emphasized to be a big deal. And it's all gone. Anyway, apparently everybody's really worried because they don't have food. And they're desperately petitioning the king. And he's like, I'll see them. And his son shows up. And they get a talk and he tells them about rings. We're both stubborn, you guys. Interesting enough, Durin is also distrustful of the rings.
Oh my God! Look, a smart guy. Jeez,
yeah. Well, of course, I liked Durin in the last season. I thought he was a good character.
Yeah, he was a dwarf. It's amazing.
So he doesn't come across as absurdly stupid. You know what's funny, though? The last season, his dad was very cautious, saying that the Mithril will be our doom and we shouldn't touch it. And the ambitious one was his son. And now his son is going, we shouldn't trust the rings. And the dad's like, no, we super should. Does anybody find that strange and backwards?
Well, how do I wonder if he wouldn't have been so distrustful if it hadn't have been for totally not Sauron hanging out there. He would have been more about it.
Maybe
that's what tipped him over and be like, that's weird.
Well, then why is the dad inclined? Why did he change his cautious, distrustful way? Because of the desperate situation? Do you recall when the elves first approached them for Mithril? They offered them like supplies for 50 years, or I can't remember how long. Like they would have been fine.
Yeah, but they didn't need it then.
Well, now they do.
Very true.
Now they do. Too bad he didn't take that deal, huh?
Yeah, too bad. That would have solved all their problems working together.
It's kind of, I don't know, that we know that the lore says that they delved too greedily and too deep and all that stuff, and so it just really doesn't make any sense that they were we better not touch the Mithril.
Hey, we found this really awesome mineral.
Why they did it greedily, I guess. This is the problem with backfilling stories.
Yes, but it's like there's every reason that they would have wanted Mithril. It's awesome. It's lighter. It's tougher than any steel. But all right, whatever. Mithril. Anyway, he sews his leg, and then it's like, oh, she died because poison slow. And then there's a strained relationship between his stepdad.
You're not even my real dad.
You're not my real dad.
This is the other character.
Even though they
in my mind. Yeah. This is the other character that in my mind took a nosedive from season 1. I mean, in season 1, I didn't really like Theo. Kind of a stupid character. But here he becomes a total
he's
douche.
Just a tool.
Yeah, he is. Arendir has done nothing but try to help him and his mom. And he's like, you're not my dad. It's like, did you watched us for so long? Did you ever see my dad? No, neither did I, and you're not him. I was like, holy cow, kid! There's one kid. There's one guy in the entire world who cares anything about you, and it's this guy right here. And you're telling him to bug off? Come on, you're bigger than you're smarter than that.
Well, to be fair, there are a lot of people with stepdads who still want to find out about their real dads and think that their real dads are not going to be as big a scum as they always were, and then they find out they're scumbags. And it's like, of course, that's why he's not around. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. His dad left for cigarettes. Elf boy stuck around and tried to raise you as the surrogate papa. And now
your real
now
papa.
you and your Meg Ryan haircut are just butthurt, and you're being teenagery about it. Anyway, he's like, "Don't talk to me again, you douche," even though we're working together to carry buckets.
And it's like he's trying to blame Arendir for his mom's death when that isn't
what
like
happened.
She would have made all the same choices still.
Yeah. They would have had
he was
less
gone
help
when she made all these big important choices. Yeah. So it's like, I don't what?
If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have had warning that the orcs are coming.
No. No, she would have been even more dead.
Well, here's our surrogate Aragorn, and he drops that line about this is ancient Numenorian ruins, and I was like, it's ancient.
Yeah, exactly. Why would they be ancient ruins? This should be a thriving, bustling city at this point in time.
But you know what? Lord of the Rings is beautiful, but ruined places that are. It's like they're showing Greece back in the day, like in ancient Greece, but the Parthenon's still a wreck. It's like, oh, okay.
Despite the fact that they like colorfully painted their statues, everything that's depicted in Rome and Greece is like perfect marble.
It's like, oh, okay. Like there'd be so much whitewash and graffiti and painted marble, like come on.
Did anybody think it was weird that they're giving him this girl as a love interest?
We lost a diverse character. We need a diverse character.
I guess, yeah.
We lost Bronwyn.
It seems real abrupt.
Chick. Yeah. Introduce character for no reason so that she can woo him or manipulate him in some way. Because, I mean, spoiler, we get a shot at her neck, and she's got that "I dedicated my life to Adar," the Adar brand. And Isildur doesn't seem to be according to season 1, we have yet to see his attitude season 2, but season 1, he didn't seem like the brightest tool in the shed, if you will.
Yeah, very much so.
He's just very hopeful.
He's very hopeful. Everybody's very teary-eyed in this scene. You see that? He's teary-eyed, she's teary-eyed, he's teary-eyed.
We find out that Isildur is the one to blame for his mother's death. Apparently he went swimming and he got caught in a riptide, so his mother tried to save him and managed to do it, but in the process she drowns. And so he blames himself for his mother's death. But nobody on Numenor, he's the only one who knows that his mother drowned saving him. When the others showed up, he's like, she drowned.
Jason, the sea is always right.
The sea is always right.
Oh god.
Which justifies their tears. Because it's salt water.
So it's grateful to the sea for taking out his mom. She needed to go. These are tears of gratitude.
Well, see, this is what you wanted. See, that's what question you.
You can't say an absolute statement like that and expect it not to be hilariously applied to other situations. Anyway, she's debranding, which either means that she's secretly a spy or she's abandoning her Adarian ways.
I'm right now. I mean, it could be that somebody's going to come to her and say, if you don't spy for us, then I'll tell everybody that you have the brand on your neck. But I'm feeling that debranding myself. I'm no longer following Hadar,
right.
as opposed to I'm trying to spy. But I could see them with somebody sneaking into the Pilar Deer or wherever and saying, "Hey, you've got to do this for us, or I'll let everybody know."
That part of my map is covered. I can't see the area. Anyway, they go sneaking off after his horse, and Isildur, or Meg Ryan, apparently has a bunch of issues and has been going out, like, getting into shenanigans and attacking wild people. And he's been doing it a lot because they're like, I've seen you've been doing that.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I thought they were just like immediately untrusting of him.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that it was him that was doing it.
Well, they imply it's like, are you that guy that's been attacking us a lot? And so it's like,
yeah.
Theo is coming across as really bitter and resentful, and he wants revenge for his mom. So he's like, well, meet me at night. I'll lead you to where they are, because he knows exactly where they are. So it gives me the impression that maybe he's going out and on his own doing little raids because he's being teenager with abandon sort of thing.
I get the feeling that it's something else that's been attacking them, and they're blaming it on him. But
I mean, maybe, but the fact that he knows exactly where they are.
Yeah.
At any rate, it seems like there's danger afoot, and maybe they catch him, and then that's the last we see of it. You know what I mean? It's like he goes riding off in the horse, and then he's like, "Oh no, Theo!" And then it cuts to Bells.
Oh, Bells.
So we don't know what happens to old Theo.
Well, it's a cliffhanger. We'll find out soon.
We're cliffhangering. Well, so we're having a big ceremony in Numenor because we forgot about Numenor for the time being. Here's old Pharazôn, and she's dressed in white as she said she was gonna. And she's gonna go grab the scepter because they're having the... I don't know what this is supposed to be. She's already the queen. Are they reasserting her queen status?
Is
this a re-anointing?
She was basically the one in
Papa
charge.
Died,
her
so
father
she's
was still the
officially taking.
And so
queenhood.
she's actually becoming the queen. Yeah.
All right. Well, she goes to grab
it. So the ceremony gets.
Go ahead.
Go for it. So the ceremony gets interrupted, and the priest here is like, the only person that should be speaking is the queen and praying to the gods and all that stuff. And then there's a riot, and Elendil's daughter shows up and says, "We don't want her as the queen because she's relying on this elvish artifact," and shows everybody the Palantir.
Well, I mean, she throws it down the stairs. No, that was secret. It was secret in the back room.
I thought it was secret what it was showing. That's why they hid it away so no one could touch it and see that it was showing their doom.
Well, and they're leaning.
They didn't have it.
They're leaning into the elf bigotry. It's like, you're touching elf stuff.
God. We are literally descended from an elf. What the hell is wrong?
Yeah, they're literally descendants of elves.
Eärien is a psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an easily manipulated dumbass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. As a contrast, Muriel is a shitty queen. All right? She sucks. And I know there's been a lot of blame hoisted on her shoulders for the thinnest of reasons to go attacking
when you go to war,
the Southlands. The thinnest of reasons. But to be fair, everybody was super into it when it happened.
Yeah.
They're cheering crowds and volunteers. Me and Ross talked about this before. It's like that lady being upset her son died. And it's like, it's not your son. It's not like your son was a member of the military and was sent off into foreign conflict that he didn't agree with. He volunteered because he really wanted to go fight there. There is a big difference between the two. It's like, it's not that weird if we have casualties in a conflict. Let's be honest.
Right.
And how's the queen going to anticipate the explosion of a volcano created from a Rube Goldberg machine?
The other thing is that they actually won. If it wasn't for the fact that the volcano blew up in their face, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they were on the winning side. The orcs are completely routed, and then a volcano blew up in their face.
And it's funny, all of the sisters' bitterness is because Isildur died, even though he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, which... No, you're right. It's like, even though he willingly wanted to go, I mean, so much to the point where he was like trying to hide away. Like
he was trying to sneak on board.
Like he was going to do something brash anyway. Come on. Good God, what an idiot. Well,
and here's one of my other favorite contrivances. An eagle shows up and everyone's like, oh, it's here for Pharazôn. You're the king now.
And it could have been there for Muriel.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the point. Look. This show has random events that push the plot forward with no insert or influence by character decision or character decision choice or whatever. Literally, it's like, so Sauron goes out into the water and he just happens to be wrecked by some sea worm, and then he happens to run into Galadriel. It's like, that's really convenient. And then it's like,
yeah,
hey, Pharazôn has schemes for the crown and he's scheming, but like it would be more interesting if he was able to manipulate his way into getting in charge. But instead, he takes over Numenor because an eagle just happens to land nearby because it's tired. Like
bird-based government.
This takes away agency from characters, and it gives them like random die rolls of events. They're not rulers of their own destiny. Things just sort of happen, and then they get to pick. I mean, if the eagle was a sign, you're right, it could mean Muriel. But the fact that there's a random happenstance to reinforce someone's rule in the first place, because an eagle just accidentally lands here, is so stupid, of such an epic order, that I can't describe. It's like, so what does this mean then? The gods are randomly intervening to help evil? To accidentally progress evil's direction? Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty much, because we all know that Pharazôn was the one that caused the downfall of Numenor.
Well, and Pharazôn's actual story in the plot is so much more interesting when he takes over the throne. Instead, he just gets it accidentally. It's like, if I want to be king of Numenor, I could just hang out by a window and maybe an eagle will land and I'm in charge now. Like, is that really how we manage rulers in a kingdom? By like random birds landing in the window, and as long as you're closest to the window, you get a better shot of being in charge? Like, is that how this happens? What an absurd scene.
What? If they play it off in the next episode, which they won't, they're not going to do this, but if they play it off as like, it's just confusion, well, what if that's meant for her? Well, what was it meant? Like, if they play it off that way, fine. But we all know that's not how it's going to be played off. Nope. They're going to play it off straight like it's shown here. I guarantee. I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, but look, has anything in the show been that smart yet?
No. I mean, he's practically crowned at the moment. They almost started a riot to overthrow her. Like, people were like, let's throw this woman out a window. They
were going to tear her apart.
Well, in the lore, Muriel, who's described as extremely fair, it is a beautiful young lady who's the daughter of the king, and the king's infirm. And Pharazôn takes over by forcibly marrying her so that he can take a claim to the crown, and then she just gets cast off after that. It is a skeevy, masculine, very medieval way of manipulating your way to take over a kingdom. Instead, you can't have strong woman being outmaneuvered by this guy. You get outmaneuvered by a bird. The bird took her crown from her, not the scheming opponent in the political realm. The bird
we can't actually
took her
have
crown.
a real villain.
No, it would be so much more interesting to have a real villain. A so-called toxic masculine character would be very interesting. Taking her agency from her by forcibly marrying her character. But that makes her a passive individual in this show. And she has to be strong and assertive. She can't just be manipulated. So here we are.
The thing is so she comes back blind. It would have been so much better if he comes in at that point and says, "Look, you're blind. I can totally help you out here," and starts manipulations that way. It's like, I'm totally here for you because you're the queen, and gets in her good graces, and then because she's blind, he's able to outmaneuver her because she can't see what he's doing at all.
Like literally,
And he hides his motive. Yeah, he hides his motives from her. He hides things from her because she just can't see them.
It would be hilarious. It would be hilarious if they're having like secret conversations in front of her in sign language.
Exactly. That'd be so funny.
Like she just can't see.
So much better than what we're getting here.
And he's just like, I'm going to stab this bent in the back. Oh, yeah, you should do that. This stupid woman doesn't know I'm going to. And it's like, oh my God. That would be so much more funny. Less clever.
Yeah.
I like how one random guy's like, yeah, Farazan, the bird's here for you. And everyone's like, yeah, that's what that means. And then he pulls out his sword and he's like, yeah. And the bird's like, I'm leaving. You guys are like, I thought it was going to be quiet here and I need to go.
I was just resting for a second here. I don't know what you guys are all hyped up about.
Well, rings are being made. We're making
and again
some rings.
With the stupid Rube Goldberg machines. Why?
That's how you know it's magical. It's how you know it's magical.
I wonder what the meaning behind Celebrimbor had to give him the stone for him to put it in. Like
it's now
is he
tainted.
Putting magic in it? Is he tainting it? Is he putting his taint in
it?
Ross, is he inserting taint in it? He's putting his taint.
Listen, the taint, it's inserted.
It's inserted inside of the Rube Goldberg goo machine.
Oh God, I love the molten Rube Goldberg machine.
You'll struggle with that one a little bit.
A little bit. I'm not drunk. You're drunk.
You're drunk. Yeah, and that's the end of the episode. We have dragged ourselves across 3 episodes.
My gosh.
And finish line.
Yeah. What one might call Hell Week for Rings of Power. And now we just get more gradual, 1 week at a time. Silver, what did you think of episode 3?
Because I was in a hurry to watch this one, I'll admit straight up, I kind of rushed through it.
Oh
my God.
If there was any parts of just no talking, I'm pressing the 10-second forward button.
All right.
That's how I made it through this to even get here.
Well, then what did you get out of it?
Oh, let's see. They're all blending into one now. This episode...
You're right. If you watch them all back to back, they blend into one mega episode.
Yeah, I was like, what did we already talk about?
As intended.
What happened? Where's this going? Oh, the spider fireman is 100% real.
We're gonna have to create memes of spider firemen.
Yes.
I love them so much.
I love them. I love the spiders.
That's the only time I've enjoyed spiders. These
spiders.
You forgot your shoes.
Wait, your shoes.
Sure, come back.
We're not ready to go yet. You're still ill.
The stuff I like the Isildur scenes of when he's traveling around.
Yeah, it feels adventure-y.
But then it was like, but then of course he ran into. Did we even know her name?
Yes. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but she does say her name. Starts with an E.
I struggle to remember Poppy's name.
That.
It's like Estrid or something like that.
Yeah. Astrid.
Yeah, we ran into her, and I'm just like, okay, the Isildur adventure's over. Now it's gonna go downhill. Now I don't care.
We at least got adventure stuff. He fought some spiders that were kind to him.
Yeah.
Estrid.
He fought his heroes.
Yeah. Ross.
I mean, the adventure was fun with Isildur, I guess, even if it made no sense of how we got there in the first place. But it's not the.
It was,
as I always say,
plot,
it's not the journey; it's the destination. Oh wait, no.
Oh yeah.
But at least it's something. At least there's some excitement. It's fascinating to see Celebrimbor. I mean, not that he was a very good character in the first season, but he went from a supposedly really put together and smart elf lord to just this giant moron who buys anything this long-haired idiot does. And I'm sad that Theo's rejecting his stepdad. Why is he doing that?
No, he loves you.
He just wants the best for you. Theo, come on, buddy.
He's more of a father than your real dad was.
Is it going to be Ents, or is it going to be the big troll man?
It's going to be Ents.
Yeah. That's really dumb.
According to the trailers, we get Entwives in this.
So
you get girl Ents. Yep. The mysterious Entwives only passively talked about in Tolkien's lore. We're actually just getting girl Ents. So
that's like a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Movies, it's like a joke.
Yep.
We don't know.
The thing is because of what goes on right there in that scene where they're going after the Wildmen, there was a man chopping down a tree, and then he suddenly goes quiet, and the axe comes flying out of nowhere and kills some dude.
It's a really weird thing for an Ent to do.
Yeah, and then Theo is running away, and he looks way up, and then he gets lifted off the ground, and that's when he starts shouting for Isildur. So that's what's making me think Entwives, apparently, rather than
it's Entwives.
trolls.
It's Entwives. They're in the trailers that they've released. The girl Ents. They're in the trailers.
I didn't realize.
I've seen it, but I didn't notice it was a girl, so I just thought it was.
It's a girl.
And I was sitting there thinking, why on earth are the Ents here? They're over in Fangorn. So that makes sense if it's the Entwives and not the Ents. But I don't know that the Entwives were there either. Well, they traveled to they traveled to a place where they could be gardeners, so it was more like open area and where they could cultivate because they were more interested in growing stuff. I recall,
the Entwives were supposed to be around an area north of Mordor, not down here, but I don't know for sure.
Right.
Not in Fangorn Forest, but farther east.
Yeah.
So who knows? But yes, it's the Entwives. That's almost 100%. I mean, obviously, if we're wrong, we're wrong. But it looks like they're setting up the Ent thing. I mean, with how they're showing it. I mean, yeah. And the Entwives spend their time cultivating the forests. So I guess they're now going to be combat Entwives and hyper masculine.
From what I recall from it wasn't the forest that they were cultivating. It was more like crops. Like they were more interested in growing like flowers and crop plants than the Ents were. The Ents were more interested in the forests and the trees, which is kind of weird that
we know so little about the Entwives. It's hard to add much information. Basically, what we know is what Treebeard told us. which is very little.
Right.
But yeah, that's what's happening. Anyway, anything else, Ross?
No. Can't wait to be halfway done next week. What a show!
It's amazing. We're almost halfway
Oh.
done.
God, we're so good at this.
We're
so good at
halfway
this.
there.
Jason,
Living on a prayer.
living on a prayer.
I don't know. It's still just a boring wreck, and
It's
it
very
just keeps
boring.
getting worse.
You know what's weird? The
It's
first
not like-
season, I was more engaged in than this one.
Yeah. Is that
And
because we
that's
had
what
3 in a row?
possibly.
It might be because of
I kind of think it's because we were so disappointed by the first one that we're carrying that subconscious bias with us into these ones, and we're just expecting them to be terrible.
No, I carried a
And-
heavy amount of bias into season 1. I had the lowest of
Well-
expectations. If anything, it impressed me.
I don't know. I can't. I mentioned in the text before. I don't think I can give the show the benefit of the doubt. I just expect it to be terrible, and it is. It's living up to that expectation of mine. It's proving me correct.
Well,
And
we've
I'm
had
just like,
these
ugh.
discussions about whether or not we're being fair to the content and treating it as fairly and overtly. We had a lot of discussions about inaccuracies between the lore and this thing, especially in season 1. And I've repeatedly encouraged us to sort of look at it as, well, in the logic of this show, this is how it works. The only times I've really brought up the original lore is to show that it was written better originally. Why aren't we following that story? But that being said, trying to be objective, I can see where the show's trying to do. They're finally trying to progress the idea that Sauron is manipulating everybody and creating these rings. He's finally doing things as opposed to being a passive actor in the rage-filled motives of Galadriel in season 1. Now he's moving things forward. He's manipulating the rings and trying to get them created. But the problem is the creation of the other rings to move forward his skeevy plan. All of it hinders on the fact that Celebrimbor doesn't know who he is, which would have been solved if Galadriel had simply told him who he is. So now we've created this contrived element of all of these rings to control the different races and give these to the lords of men and the lords of the dwarves, created to manipulate everything, solely based upon the fact that Galadriel didn't want to have consequences to her actions and explain what was going on. So now we have this whole element of he's getting away with it because she was incompetent. And so now we're creating these rings so that I could see exactly what's happening. They're setting us up so he could create these rings so that he can give everybody a false hope, so that when he finally creates the one ring, it in turn controls all of the other ones, because it's already set up and implied that the rings allow you to have power over the flesh. Right. And so power over the flesh, when granted to the dwarves to perhaps fix the problems that are happening in their kingdom, or the men to fix problems happening in their kingdom, granting them this great power, and then he gets one to subsequently control the others, therefore controlling Middle-earth. That's essentially what his plan is coming to fruition. And in order to kill off Celebrimbor, he's manipulated Adar and the orcs to go searching for him in Eregion. Now,
where he currently is.
Right. Now the story implies that Sauron has no capacity to control the orcs, which is weird, but I guess in this world, the orcs have free will and don't want to listen to Sauron for some reason. And so essentially, for him to control the orcs, he has to make a ring of his own that he's going to have to use to enthrall the rest of the orcs who have family values and want a land of their own and are misunderstood. And so his ring is going to allow him to enthrall the orcs to his will, so that he can control them and prosecute a war on Middle-earth. So we're building up to his ring, which deliberately is literally they're saying he can't control the orcs and he wants to. He wants to do that. And that's why we're getting the situation that we're in is he's manipulating to create rings to control others. And eventually he's going to create his own to control the rings and the orcs, I assume. And in the meantime, he's manipulating the orcs. Control everything. Right.
Yeah.
That's his goal. He's using the rings to control everything. It makes him, I guess, he's kind of fumbling into succeeding in his ultimate plan, it feels like. Because there's a lot of circumstances that need to just accidentally come to pass for him to get away with it.
Yeah.
But he's getting away with it.
If he'd said, and if Galadriel had said anything to Celeborn,
oh, none of this would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of it.
And if Adar and the orcs weren't so adamantly opposed to Sauron, why would they bother to leave Mordor, their homeland now, and go traipsing off to try to find and kill somebody? And
Adar is determined to kill Sauron because he's worried about Sauron. As far as I can tell, Sauron's that
because the elves are dying, and
as far as I could, the justification for giving the different races the elves, or the different races like the elves or the dwarves or the humans, is because they are in dire situations, and these rings might solve their problems, like the corruption reaching Khazad-dûm, or the corruption wrecking their tree with the elves. So they're motivated to get these to sort of save their different realms, but ultimately, obviously, Sauron's gonna ultimately take over all of that because he's building a ring to take over all the other ones. But yeah, you see where this is going. He wants to control the orcs. He wants control over flesh. This is what the story is trying to tell us. And the story is leading up to a big battle in Eregion, because we've seen in the trailers there are big battles with the Elrond in charge of everything. So Sauron manipulating Adar to show up there is probably going to be the big moment of the season where they have the big war.
Yeah, most likely.
My expectation is by the end of the season, we're probably going to see Balrog show up.
Yeah.
Probably. But we already know basically what's going to happen in the rest of the season. They've told us. And we can see Sauron's scheme. It's very obvious. Because at least in season 1, we had no idea what nonsense was coming in the next episode. It was just stuff was happening with no logical reasoning whatsoever, which is almost more interesting because it's like having a party and dice is rolled every time somebody makes a decision. It's just weird.
We know that Tom Bombadil is going to show up for some reason.
Yes, the merry old fellow.
And the Barrow Lights.
Who was his jacket is blue and his boots are yellow. And he looks extremely dour in the trailer. His boots are yellow.
Yeah.
He looks extremely dour in the trailer, despite him being, quote unquote, a merry old fellow. So Tom Bombadil will be there, but Tom Bombadil doesn't care about the world of anybody else's anyway, so I don't know why he's going to be around in any capacity. But oh well, Tom Bombadil. But that's my point, is they've already at least established a roadmap for where this is going. And we could see the direction it's heading. So at least it feels like the story's moving forward, however slowly and however ploddingly. It's moving forward.
It's moving forward, and at the same time, it's illogical.
Well, it's done in a haphazard way. It's almost like they tried to get all their ducks in a row at the last minute. So it's like it felt like nothing was happening in the first season, like the overall story wasn't going in any direction. And it feels like too, it's like, well, we're gonna get everything together. It's like a really bad quilt where part of it's cardboard and part of it's made from a tree. And it's like this isn't a quilt, but it's like, well, it's what we got. So Here's your quilt.
Two of the
Cuddle up
ducks
with
are
it.
walking backwards.
Yeah, it's just it's thrown together. It feels illogical. It feels like things are just forced into place. It feels like storylines where Farazan should have taken over in a natural way. It's just sort of like, the bird shows up and he's in charge. And it's like, this is what you planned? Like, this is how you wrote this? Like, literally, we had no indication that an eagle showing up mattered anything. Then in one episode, they go, it would be important if an eagle showed up. And then an eagle shows up and it's like, oh, Farazan's king now. And you literally set it up and then concluded it in that episode. And it's like, okay, I guess. Like, it's not clever. It's not interesting. It's like almost like they planned on making that take more time, and now they've decided to usher that storyline forward, and their effort to usher that forward gave them a really poor, like, writing hook that made no logical sense and was kind of contrived to give it that push to go in the right direction. But, I digress. Yeah, it's so much less interesting. And not that the first season was any good. It was cringy and bad. This is boring and bad. It's like trading one for the other. It looks better. The music is better, as Ross has said. I think the music is better. I would agree. And the CGI looks better. The first season looked very plasticky and fake with the CGI that they
there's a veneer of polish on this season.
Like, more effort was put in, despite the fact more money was spent in the first one.
Yeah.
Strangely enough. Maybe it's because they already spent money on these big sets, so they don't have to rebuy them again.
Yeah.
So they can put it into, trying harder. Any standouts? You know what? I think Charlie Vickers is doing all right.
Yeah.
He's playing like multiple characters, a lot of nuance to his performance.
Elrond, he's kind of coming through as the only sane person in a world full of idiots and crazy people.
His character, yes. As far as the acting, he's had a bit more interesting stuff, but
the acting is still pretty hit or miss for a lot of it.
Sure.
I mean,
maybe we'll get some more good performances.
The guy that plays Prince Doran is doing great as he did last season. Like,
I still like him. Feels very dwarfy.
Yeah.
Yep. He's doing it right, and the writing is helping him in that they're actually acting like dwarves. So, but he's doing good. He's acting like a dwarf.
Yeah, I'm liking Isildur more this season than I did last. Isildur was kind of a shit kid last season.
Yeah, maybe he's actually on his adventure, so he's going to be, somebody not so annoying.
Yeah, hopefully. But we'll have to see. It's a poorly constructed vision, but we have a vision. So maybe they'll be able to draw some of the threads together in an interesting way in coming episodes. I was about to say I'm not giving up on the show. I've given up on the show. I don't think I have no faith in the show. So I'm still willing to open up to the possibility that it could surprise me. Okay? Mm-hmm. We could have some interesting things happen. We could have a good episode or some good... Because there are smatterings of good writing, and then there's smatterings of really awful quotes and like badly, overly written, flowery, nonsensical, poorly told. Like they thought they were writing Tolkien-esque dialogue, and it's just awful, awful dialogue.
Yeah, them trying to be flowery is just awful. Good.
Yeah.
Lord.
But I'm still open to possibilities of having decent episodes. We had a fairly decent episode last season, like near the end, that had almost no stakes. But I think we thought it was decent because it wasn't awful like all the other ones were.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was our conclusion.
That and I don't care about the stranger. None of us talk about the stranger at all in the Nori journey. Nope. Like it means nothing, because it means nothing. You could literally delete all of that stuff and it would have zero effect on the story.
None.
But
it's kind of incredible. They haven't done anything to tie it together.
No, nothing at all. I find zero interest in what's happening. I guess he's going to get a wand or have a confrontation with Wizard. Maybe we'll have a Wizard fight.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Whatever. At any rate, we are going to end this episode kicking and screaming. We will see you for episode 4. Have a lot of fun. Ross is beaten to death. We knew this was coming, Ross. We knew this event was coming. But we are going to have to get out of here. Anything to leave us with? We're going to say goodbye, everybody? No?
Later.
All right.
Later.
Goodbye.
Bye.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.